Welcome back to Drag Talk. I'm your host, Andrea Quinn, and I want to thank both Michael Photos and Samantha Satan for joining me this evening via Skype. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to such a powerful duo.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're very grateful to have this opportunity today to speak with you.
Agreed. I'm glad to be here and glad to speak on behalf of both Mike and myself in our team and companionship.
Great. So today we are joined by Michael Photos, Master's in Writing Arts student at Rowan University. Did I get that right?
Yeah, my program of study is rhetoric and composition.
And we also have Samantha Satan. Now, Samantha is Michael's writerly component. She supplies him with great ideas, and together they bring those ideas to fruition.
I like to say that he's the gear and I'm the crank that gets him moving.
So you two have been working together for quite some time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 5 years.
And you two met at a nightclub.
Yeah, in New York City. That's where we first met. I don't remember the club, the name of it, but it was my first time meeting someone so imaginative and so quick to respond to her impulses.
So tell us, where are you guys now, and what are the projects you're working on?
Mm. We are currently working on a project that could potentially become a thesis of ours. It's called Core One, and it's a compilation of works that we believe will help bring forth imaginative works from not only Sam, but from me as well.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal is to allow these small projects, Anne Lamott likes to call them small assignments, to shape our growth as writers and as performers.
How do you think you've changed so far?
Well, Sam tends to find opportunity in exploration, even in the most mundane events. And together we've decided some time ago that we would tackle some social issue, something to proclaim as our focus or our project.
And this started during Mike's senior year. So we'd known each other for quite some time already, and it wasn't until then that we found our project.
And that project consists of content regarding gender studies, identity studies, performativity theory, queer theory, and so on, in regards to the hegemonic social system we have today that tells us how to walk and talk and act.
Do you think the small assignments have shaped your project?
Almost definitely. And it has done so by allowing us opportunities to create content in the areas we find interest in. And the content was, I found at least, rather original because the prompts were demanding and not very typical of an average writer.
Yeah, and to add, there was so much opportunity to collaborate together, but also to speak about our work to others and share our work in peer workshops, which gave wind to great revision and reinvention.
I'm curious about this writing process. What specific assignments were you given? And what did peer review and revision allow you to see about your writing?
Well, we certainly saw that Sam was the powerhouse of the idea generating, and that was mainly the one who executed a lot of the work. In fact, our first assignment was to discuss and distinguish our relationship. Me being the everyday, the worker in the group, and Sam being the writer, the inspiration, the muse, and that assignment really pulled our knot together. It really brought us closer together as a team.
I particularly enjoyed the task of personifying inspiration. As soon as I got the idea, I thought, oh yeah, we definitely need some makeup. We definitely need to talk about drag, and we've definitely had to talk about how we've come together because of drag performance and how that has changed our lives and our writing.
I will say, however, that I was rather afraid to share this part of my work. A lot of people, friends of ours, have seen glimpses of our work, but this would be the first time our fellow peers would see, and these are peers within the Core One project, they would see our work and our aesthetic and our controversial, to say the least, ideas and ideologies.
It was a struggle at the beginning, but I did send Mike a quote from Stephen King's memoir that basically said, if God puts you on this earth to do something, why the hell aren't you doing it? And so I talked him into doing the project the way that we envisioned originally, and I think it came out fairly well.
So what about in terms of revision?
Mm. We had feedback from both a peer group, several peer groups actually, and our project manager, Jeff Maxon. And each party really helped us clear a couple sections up. Particularly, there were several instances where the writing kind of went on, and we were instructed to cut back and make sure our ideas are the focus and that the ideas are pulled together and were cohesive enough.
I personally struggled with this. Once I create something, it is difficult to cut it, to just let it go. But a lot of times, Mike convinced me that the piece would be more easily digested by audiences if we cut the language back a little and kept our metaphors and rhetorical choices not only concise but related to one another, so that the reader isn't jumping back and forth, ultimately confusing themselves.
I found this particularly true with our imitation project, where we chose an author to imitate and developed a narrative afterward.
Mike hated me at the beginning of this assignment. I like to consider what other writers different, and I think this has a lot to say about courage and delving into projects and decisions that don't allow us to know the outcomes right away. We get stuck in a limbo state where we have no idea what is going to happen, but we explore and we don't allow ourselves to be afraid of that exploration.
And what becomes of that is rather nice. In this project, for example, we took a step away from gender and identity and decided to try our best to say something about life away from that. And what we found through exploration, and it took us a couple of days, was that we wanted to talk about love and how the absence of love can sometimes make people a little bitter. It is a truth that I see in my friends and in my family, and we wanted to understand it and then address it and then, make something of it.
Yeah, and so we produced a narrative that followed three bitter old women, all widows except for the one who was just remarrying. They bicker and tease, and it seems like the only one that has any sense is the newlywed. And by the end of the piece, they all stare at this man with a corpse in his arms, and he's crying and crying, but all the two widows see is the lavish jewels that the corpses had. They think, wow, she must have been so important, so beautiful for a man to continue to hold on and to weep after death. And then there's the newlywed who weeps along with the man. She's the only one who sees his heartache and pain.
We thought this was a good symbol for those people who are in their heads, who are a little selfish, and they think me, instead of considering what's surrounding them. They think of what they have and what they can acquire rather than what they have to offer and how they can change the world. And I think those who are on their mission, those who want to bring change to society, are the ones who weep with others, who feel the pain of their in their hearts for their friends and families, and who make it their job to shed light on that pain and to address it in some way and help them get through it.
These assignments, no doubt, are really making you think about life and what you want to do in this life and what your role in it is. Would you say that after these assignments, you've confirmed what you'll focus on for the remainder of your studies?
It takes a lot of courage, a lot of hard work, and a lot of help, too, to not only choose a project, but to dedicate your life to it. It takes contemplation and inquiry about the ethics of the project, inquiry about the backlash and the consequences to come, be it negative or desirable.
I agree. And it's scary sometimes. You think, what will my parents think? What will future employers think when they see these projects and it's just me and Sam twirling around in makeup and costume?
Well, it's more than that. These projects are not only creative feats, but there's meaning to them. There's this forefront narrative, and then there's something going on in the background as well. And if it weren't projects like the multi-genre work, then we may never have had the connection between creation and meaning.
I agree, and in terms to that particular assignment, I think it solidified our project, our life project. In fact, we are fairly certain that it will continue to develop in the next year and a half as our thesis project.
And what will that project look like?
Yeah, well, we have this narrative, and originally it was a couple crots next to each other. They're like bits and pieces of narratives that didn't really stick very well. But after we spoke with our peer group, multiple people said it was hard to follow. So we decided to flesh it out a little bit, make the work a little longer, more involved, longer scenes, and we're still developing that, by the way. I don't think actually that we're going to be finished. We're going to have a finished product in quite a long while. And I think this is mainly because as we explore, we're learning so much. The exploration is throwing us through hoops, and we're struggling and figuring things out about life and ourselves.
Yeah, we are definitely learning. In fact, as we write this narrative, which we have a lot of plans for in the near future, we are relating it back to our conversation about our social justice aspirations, and it's all still in the developmental stage, but I do feel it will become something big and something important.
All right, well, thank you to both Michael Photos and Samantha Satan for joining us this evening. It's been a great talk. You can follow their project at samanthasatan.com and stay tuned for our next program on Drag Talk.